This is Picard ordering a hot tea. That's all he is. I've been fucking invested in this character for like 20 years. And now you're going to reduce him to ordering a tea?
It's back.
Larissa, did you know that Tom Hardy played Bane? Can I touch your hair? Welcome.
This is a horrible impersonation. Welcome to Into the Wormhole.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
We are stuck down here. We've been stuck down here for about a year. I'm Lauren Lowen, and if I look over to my left of this wormhole, I got my captain.
Hi, it's Larissa Maestro. What's up?
Hey, everyone. So we are already coming back to another Villains episode, Star Trek Villains. We had just done the Borg Queen not that long ago, and we just decided we wanted to do another one because we do what we want. Just deal with it. Okay?
Yeah, that's like the whole point of this podcast is that we do whatever we want.
And so we kind of needed something that was a little more short and snappy. So we decided, you know what? We're doing Shinzon. We're doing Shinzon from Star Trek Nemesis. And Larissa said that she doesn't have notes. She just has feelings. So, Larissa, I'm excited to hear those feelings.
Oh, yeah.
I do want to start by saying one thing, though. Kind of on a more serious note. But
okay.
I was reading up on... just everything about the movie. Shinzon's really only in one movie versus like the Borg Queen who we were just talking about, who, you know, went on into the TV series. But apparently Tom Hardy said somewhere that he took this role very seriously because it was like his first big Hollywood breakthrough film. And because it did so poorly, not only just at the box office money-wise, but was not well received by Star Trek fans, he admitted that his relationship broke up. He turned to alcohol and he contemplated suicide over it.
Oh my God. I did
Yeah.
not know that.
And it kind of reminds you like how cruel people can be just in general to actors and just people who are sort of in, you know, in front of the camera and stuff. But I just wanted to say, Mr. Hardy, if you are listening to a Star Trek podcast with two 30-something women talking about one of your first appearances, I don't have a problem with your acting in this film. You were nominated, Mr. Hardy, for a Saturn Award for this, and I think you acted the shit out of Shinzon. So I just wanted to say that we will have thoughts about this, but his acting is not a complaint.
Tom Hardy is an incredible actor. Like,
oh yeah,
he's an incredible actor. I fucking love Mad Max Fury Road. I have watched that movie so many times. That movie's amazing. He barely has any lines in it, and he's just fucking compelling. He's so compelling in that movie. I love it. They spent $60 million on this movie.
Which actually, I want to say it's not that much.
I mean,
they actually had to do this movie on a budget when it comes to a Hollywood film because they wanted some more elaborate things and they literally could not afford them.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
60 million feels like a lot of money to me.
It is but, in the grand scope of movies, you know. But yeah, I mean, but I think they made 67.
Here's the thing: is that it only made $67 million at the box office.
Ouch! I wonder if that was domestic or, you know, I mean, still it's really low. It just shows the temperature of where the fandom was.
It was the first Star Trek film that did not debut as the highest grossing film of the week.
Ooh, ouch.
It debuted at number 2 behind the movie Made in Manhattan.
Oh,
starring
Jennifer
Lopez and Ralph Fiennes.
Oh, ouch. Double ouch.
I mean, that movie's also very bad, but it's cute. And it's got J-Lo. It's got J-Lo in it. I mean,
no, I want to see dune buggies and someone impale themselves on a spike.
Yeah. Okay, I'm also reading that when it was released, it was in direct competition with 2 other huge movies, or 3 other huge movies, one of which was Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets,
Oh boy.
the 20th James Bond film Die Another Day, and Gesundheit,
Excuse me.
and Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers.
Oh Jesus. Yeah.
Shit. Oh my god. And then Rick Berman was like blaming that for like why Nemesis did so poorly. And it's like all of those movies are still like, people still watch all of those movies and like them. You know, like, but
Yeah.
2 of those are sequels. All of those are sequels. Like, what? I don't know. So moving on to Shinzon.
Yes.
This was ideal for us because we only had to watch the movie. except for the fact that the movie that we had to watch was Nemesis.
Yikes.
Oh my god.
Yikes.
I don't know. Do you want to just do like first thoughts about that? Because we're talking about like as a villain, the success of this character. Like what as a foe, right?
I just love it. I'm just making faces and I'm like looking through my fingers like I'm trying to avoid a horror movie, all while Larissa's talking about this.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna say I
start.
get what they were going for here. I know what they were trying to do. I just never one time in the movie believe it. I just don't ever believe it. And this is not because of Tom Hardy's acting. Tom Hardy, this is not because of your acting. Your acting
He's
is
probably
excellent.
the best thing of this movie.
Yeah. The acting is excellent.
Yeah, him as Shinzon.
Your acting is much better than Brent Spiner as B4, which makes no sense. Anyway, that's not important. It's writing for me.
Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely writing. I don't buy him as a foil for Picard ever, because there's never any indication that he has a moral compass. Like there's zero writing to indicate that he has anything in common with Picard. He is just always he's just always fucking shit up. So like there's never a reason to trust him. There's never a moment of like real connection between the two of them. It's all just like looking at the stars and wondering what's up there. Like that's not a connection. That's just a thing that happened that happens to literally every child.
Right. Oh, you wanna dream of being an adult and doing big things?
That's
Me
so
too.
unusual.
Are you my clone?
Right. So ridiculous. So like really for me, it all just comes down to believability. And
that's saying something for 2 people who watch Star Trek.
for two
You know what I
people
mean?
who are watching like a futuristic utopic science fiction show. Yeah. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it at all.
Shinzon feels like in this movie, I'm not talking about the books. I wanted to go and research and I'm like, I know this was talked about or explained more in the book. So they went and it's like, nope, we're just looking at the movie because I'm not doing homework to make up for a shoddy product and storytelling.
Right.
Shinzon feels like a first draft. It feels like someone who's come out with the very, very basics and they have yet to workshop it over and over and over again. And I agree, like Picard, there's never like this interesting push and pull between him and Shinzon, or a time where maybe it looks like they will kind of be working together. And then, no, it turns out that Shinzon realizes, like kind of a tragic, character. There's something like that. It just feels like from the very start, Picard's just like, this is fucked up. And then he never trusts him.
And that's what makes it not even tragic, though, is because like it would be tragic if he had like almost come around and then died. That's tragic. But like, it's just like the Romulans stole Picard's DNA and made a genetic experiment that turned into a complete disaster for everyone.
Do you remember when we were talking about transporter accidents and we were talking about Tom Riker and you were like, is anyone go back to this technology and like, I don't know, make a double of someone, and the Romulans would make a double of Riker and make him into an agent? And you could, I feel like this is the closest we actually get to that happening.
Yes.
And it's a mess.
Yes. The problem is that, like, I mean, okay, so I'm thinking, like, what if that actually had been the premise of the scientific aspect of this, and we just had 2 Patrick Stewarts and no Tom Hardy?
Oh.
You know what I mean? Patrick Stewart looking Patrick Stewart in the eye, not Patrick Stewart looking younger quote, younger Patrick Stewart in the eye.
I feel like that would have been too much
silly.
like Lauren Data.
Yeah, that would have been silly.
Yeah. That's why they were like, okay, yeah, clone? Oh, but he's younger. Which could be, again, interesting, because then you also have, maybe to some degree, like, obviously they're clones, but you could have, like, a mentor-student / son-father thing. And, you know, pulling at Picard's heartstrings of he doesn't have a family.
Yeah.
So
you could
like
have that, but you
could, but you didn't.
That was a possibility for sure.
Okay, can we? All right, do we need to with? I feel like with First Contact, when we did the Borg Queen, we at least explained a little bit of the movie.
Yeah, we did.
Should I attempt to do a really quick rehash?
Quick,
okay,
really, really fast one.
Really
but
quick.
Also, like, we don't need to talk. Like, there are some beats that we don't need to talk about. Like, we can just
assume.
Yeah, and
you guys know.
Yeah, you guys have seen Nemesis at least one time, and you maybe understand like the correlation between Data and B4 and Picard and Shinzon.
We don't have to
talk
fill
about
in the blanks, the simplest blanks, in case you're like, oh yeah. Okay, so this was the last movie in the Star Trek Generation movies. It came out. You probably have the date in front of you. Is it 2000?
2002.
2002. Okay, that was my next guess. 2002. It came out 4 years after Insurrection. So it's been a long time since we've been with our TNG fans. This movie did the worst box office wise out of the Next Generation movies. And there was going to actually be a 5th TNG movie, but this scared the studio into saying, nope, like, we're not going to do that because this was a disaster. And they ended up just deciding to go with the J.J. Abrams 2009 movie years later. So, you know, that's kind of an interesting thing. Basically,
they didn't let Frakes direct this one either. So, you know, it's their fault. It's their fucking fault. The best Next Gen movies are the Frakes direction, in my opinion.
They got a director who did not know Star Trek, and he didn't even bother, even after doing this, he didn't bother to watch any Next Generation.
What a fucking asshole. Like,
he
come
just
on.
went in blind and filmed it. And I also want to say, before I forget, I read that there's literally 50 minutes that they cut out of this movie. And most of it was character stuff because they wanted to save all the action stuff of the Enterprise going against Shinzon ship. And it's like, maybe you should have kept some of that.
Oh my God. That's
maybe
really,
we wouldn't
like,
have some of the problems we have.
Roar. Fuck this. Also, like, I know Brent Spiner had a little to do with this story, but like, Rick Berman, fuck you.
Okay, so basically all you need to know is Troy Riker married.
That's my favorite part of the whole fucking movie. Right. Sorry,
it's the opening scene. I'm like,
the opening scene is my favorite part.
All you guys really need to know to remember this is the one where it turns out the Romulans had made a clone of Picard to replace him, and they abandoned that plan and threw the clone into a lithium mining, like slave labor camp.
Yeah, on Remus.
That the Romulans run, and somehow this clone rose to power and had the strength and the education to get a spaceship and all this like crazy, in theory, technology and stuff, and then basically went after Picard because the Enterprise went there to see what the hell's going on. Because
but first he murders the entire Romulan Senate.
Shinzon kills the Senate, so he's taken over. Is it Romulus, right? That's the planet.
Yeah, he's from Remus, but he's taken over Romulus.
I even want to keep this. This is supposed to be a 15-second summary.
They're like fucking Romulan politics. Yeah.
Picard and him meet, and Shinzon wants to destroy Federation because I don't know. And then And then he's bad guy because
Yeah.
movie need bad guy.
Yep.
They fight. Pew, pew, pew. And then he gets
stabby.
put on a spike. Which,
stabby spike part.
and then it's over.
And then Data sacrifices himself. Why? I don't know.
I mean, that was a good use of Data being like, he doesn't have to worry about space. He can literally jump over and save Picard. I feel
That
like
was
that's
cute.
something in another movie people would be like, why didn't they have
Yeah.
Data just go over there?
But they did it. That was cute. I appreciated that. But then like I was like, what the fuck? It's supposed to be emotional, and it's just like, what the fuck?
It actually would have been more appropriate, I feel like, if we're like totally again rewriting it, but if like Shinzon, I mean, we'll talk about the Shinzon character and his relationship with Picard, but if somehow there was a little bit more of if this movie was more of a chess game and less of an action flick,
Yes.
where maybe like Shinzon's just like, look, I'm fucked up, I'm never going to be as good as you, Picard, and so they are adversaries in the end, but at the very end, this is like the one redeeming thing Shinzon does is he goes down with the ship and prevents, I don't know. Yeah.
What you
That would actually
yes.
been like somewhat poetic, I feel like.
What you just said is the whole problem with this movie. If it had been a chess game instead of an action movie, because that is the Picard way. Picard, let's just go back and talk about Picard for a second.
Yeah.
We have set up, this is the final movie in the Next Gen series, right?
Which, again, like I said, they didn't know because they
didn't
planned
know
to have
it.
another one.
But like what
it ended
what
up
I
being
mean
that way.
by that is that we have literally over a decade of character development material on this character, right? We know this character really well. So like, why the fuck is this an action movie instead of a chess game? Picard is a diplomat. Picard plays that. I mean, that is literally playing chess, political chess. That is literally what that is. You are negotiating. You are looking for social cues. You're watching. You're trying to like diffuse like dangerous and violent, potentially violent situations all the time. That's what Picard's character does. And you're not going to use that in a story in which his
Picard
adversary
is about
literally his younger self.
He needs to take spaceships and take them inside the hallways of Romulan ships and blast his way through.
That was some
I'm
Star
sorry,
Wars
Larissa,
bullshit.
That's what Picard is about.
That was some
and
Star
doom
Wars
buggies
bullshit.
and fucking doom buggies.
That was also some Star Wars bullshit. There was so much Star Wars shit in this movie.
That was not the response I was expecting.
I would absolutely expect to see a dune buggy scene in a Star Wars movie. I would absolutely expect to see a shuttlecraft flying inside of a space station in a Star Wars movie. That's what those movies are for. I'm not expecting that when I'm watching a scene with Jean-Luc Picard and Data. Like, what? Like, what?
Yeah, and actually those
don't get
aliens
it.
with their little goggles when they're in the dune buggy scene, they do seem kind of like sand people.
They really do. Like, I know, they really do. So, like, yes, again, the way that you put it with the chess game, that's exactly the problem with this movie. That's exactly the problem with this villain.
It was like, and we kind of mentioned this in the Board Queen, that they really were trying to get people off the street, not your typical Star Trek fan who knew everything, but let's just get overall moviegoers and sci-fi fans to come see this big film. And it's almost like they kept not learning their lesson, and they kept like doubling down, like more action, more basic, and it's like no, and it wasn't until I haven't seen the 2009 one in forever, but I remember enjoying it, and I remember feeling like, I feel like this is something that fans and I don't know, I just thought they pulled it off. And now, like we were saying, because of the streaming and all that, now they can be like, yeah, we're going to do like a whole show like Picard where it's like we got the Borg, we got Seven, we got Maddox. Hey, remember that one episode of that one thing? This whole thing is based off of it practically.
Yep.
But in this movie, they weren't doing that. So like I said, they kind of doubled down again.
Yeah. I mean, the problem, I would say, like, since we just talked about First Contact, basically, when we talked about the Borg Queen, I would say that the reason why First Contact actually feels like a successful movie, I mean, it's generally considered to be the best of the TNG movies, and I agree with that, is because it does feel like there's more of a balance between giving us fans something to grab onto, some backstory to, like, some of our knowledge that we can apply to it. Like we're actually seeing First Contact with between Earth and Vulcan, which is something that we've heard about watching the show for our whole lives, right? We actually get to see it. That's really exciting. We get to see like the Zefram Cochrane first warp space flight. They're actually taking from the lore of the series, right? In this movie, there's none of that. The only thing we get, again, like we said, our favorite scene is the wedding scene.
Right?
Because it's the only...
Even that was cut.
I know, but it was like...
We're like, hey, Guinan!
Right? We only get Guinan for a minute, right? I was like, when I saw her in that scene, I was like, wait, do we get a Guinan, like, some Guinan advice? No, we don't. We get no Guinan advice. But, like, the reason why that's our favorite scene is because we get to hang out with our friends in that scene.
Oh, and we've been waiting so long.
And we've been waiting for so long to fucking hang out with our friends. And then the rest of the movie, we're just like, wait, so we just get some like little tiny pieces of dialogue and then we don't get to hang out with our friends? We're just like...
Because they're cut.
Because it's all cut. So like there's no... It doesn't even like... Picard's character doesn't feel like Picard. He's doing so many not Picard things in this movie. Like risking the entire ship and just flying it directly into the other ship. I don't know. I was like, what?
I'm sorry. I thought that was actually kind of cool.
I mean, it is cool. It is cool, but I was confused about it is really cool. I was confused
it is
about
out of character. Also, are we like ever gonna separate the saucer from the thing, again? Like
that was my exact fucking thought. I
could understand if it's like, let's ram the saucer part and
and then separate and fly away.
Yeah.
I just don't that was exactly my thought. I was like, wait, so the Enterprise can't separate? Like,
all they needed was one line of dialogue. Separate. We can't. It's offline. Okay, great. We can't do that.
Like, why? I was like, wait a minute. Is it because we just did it in Generations?
Yeah, that is the problem. Is it's like the Power Rangers. You're basically just waiting for them to combine all together. Like, all right, let's get to that point.
I mean, we really don't get saucer separation very often. Like, this is the time if you're gonna do it.
I'm trying to remember if they were impulse only. Like maybe they just didn't have the power. Anyways,
I was also like, what is in the did they evacuate? They didn't. There was no like evacuate these decks so that
I just always think of Spaceballs when we talk about that.
I know. But I was like, that was like very obvious. Like on Star Trek, they would say evacuate those decks first before doing the thing. And this seemed like, oh, but we don't want to say that because it'll ruin the thing we're about to do. But like for Star Trek fans, we're like, we want to make sure everyone in those decks was okay.
Well, it's like there's kids in the classroom, right?
Right? Like,
how's Molly doing? Or
I know, like where
they just came from a wedding. They're not. They should be on.
There are families on board. You remember this, right? Like for some reason, there are children on this now warship.
Okay.
Oh God. Okay.
One thing I want to talk about Shinzon is that this whole plot, kind of going back to the idea of like, what if the Romulans made a copy of someone and. One of the problems I have with the movie is just that like this plot of trying to replace Picard with a clone is not bad in itself, but the way they go about it in the movie just seems like so overly complicated. And
yeah.
I'm okay for not having all the answers, but it's like when you I guess, have plot holes, or when you have things that just don't add up, it gets really distracting. And we've just noted it just seems really shallow in like a first draft.
You mean like the
but
temporal genetics thing where like it's like temporal
I'm
genetics
okay.
so that he
I'm
can
actually okay
age?
with the temporal RNA. The fact that it's
temporal
like,
RNA,
because
okay.
it would be like, what, you're going to like raise this guy? You know, it's like, that kind of makes sense.
Like by the
But,
time
like,
he's the right age, then like Picard would be dead.
Yeah. So I understand that. And I do think it's somewhat clever that it's like the fact that it wasn't activated is ultimately like messing with his body. And that's what's causing that's like, okay, cool. What I really don't get is like, if you kind of read the notes, it's like they're going to do this. There's a government switch up and they decide we got to get rid of this whole like clone Picard and replace him. You know, we're not doing it anymore because it's going to be too provocative and we're going to get in trouble if the Federation or Starfleet ever found out. So let's throw the kid clone in a mine. And it's like, if you're really that worried about them finding out and you would be in like a lot of trouble, like kill the clone. Like,
right.
You kill the evidence. Like,
right.
Why would you really throw him in a mine? Like,
right.
Shoot him. It would make
right.
more sense if it was like somebody who was semi in charge of him took pity, and it's like, I was supposed to die, but he threw me in the mines. Like,
yeah, they're like, they put me in the mines to die. Okay, or they could have just made
but he
you
didn't.
die.
Like after a year, do you think they'd be like, hey, that clone's still alive? We weren't. We thought he'd last like a week, man. Should we just go and like kill him?
Should we just go in there and kill him? Yeah.
Should we just have one? And then like they allude to this in the movie, and I know the books go into it, but it's supposed to be that because the Remans are like the slave labor social class of the Romulans.
Yeah.
But they're also, like, I guess in the Dominion War, they were also used as what they described as cannon fodder. Like, basically, it was like they were sent on all the horrible missions where everyone was going to die.
Yeah.
They're very expendable. And so he was also drafted in that. But it's like, again, if you're so worried about people finding out about this plot, why would you send your evidence? Wouldn't people be like, what is that human doing?
Yep.
Fighting with those Remans. What if he got rescued? What if he became a POW and got rescued and someone's like, what's this human doing? They find out he's a clone, and then you're back to being, like discovered. Hey, sorry, we were going to clone you. But we didn't do it. We didn't go through with it.
This makes no sense. It makes no sense. None of it makes any sense.
Also, okay, here's a big point too. If the whole point was they were going to go through all this, like they have him, they go ahead and, put him at the same age, speed up his growing. What if he pulls a peanut hamper and says, you know what? I'm going to pass. No.
Yeah.
No. By the way, dictionary, peanut hamper. To resist doing something that is highly expected of you.
I love it.
Something.
I love it.
I guess the Romulans were planning to like mind warp him. Like, I know they have all the tech for that, but it was also seemed like, what if your clone just refuses because he's an emo 20-something?
So emo. He's so emo. Oh my god.
Also, what is Shinzon's motivation for anything?
I mean, so, okay, his motivation is supposed to be, I think, the liberation of the Reman people. I think that's what it's supposed to be. And if, honestly, to be totally honest, if they had run with that and made that really the structure on which his motivation was built, it would make way more sense because he is actually trying to protect people. So there is his moral compass, right?
And there's like the weird overlapping of, that's his Picardness.
Like, yes. That he is like, he cares very much about the Reman people. They raised him. They are oppressed. But then wouldn't his beef just be with the Romulans and not with Earth? Like, what is this?
That's what I was wondering.
What is this go to Earth and destroy Earth thing? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like what's his problem with the humanity or the Federation?
That is never clarified.
Yeah. Because it's not
one
like
time.
It's who's the when they brought back Tasha Yar, but she's a half Romulan. What's that?
Sela.
I always want to call her like Selma.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's not like that where it's like, okay, she's half human, but she's obviously grown up a Romulan and she's like, fuck my humanity. I'm Romulan, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's nothing like that. Like, yeah, his beef, like you said, is and should pretty much be the Romulans. Now, I guess there is something like they keep alluding to like, oh, if he destroys Earth, that will, you know, it'll be easy to take down the Federation since the headquarters is on Earth. But
like,
still,
why is it the Federation?
Why is he going after the Federation?
I don't.
They give him like all the motivation and none all at the same time in this movie.
Because then if you really think about it, the Federation is one of the only enemies that the Romulans have. So it's like it's the Federation and the Klingons, right? So why would you want to take down the enemies of your enemy?
Well, yeah, it's that saying like the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
And it's like, oh, but I also need Picard here so I can get his blood.
Yeah.
And it's like, there was just like a little, like I said, like all the motivation, but also no motivation. It was just kind of all over the place.
If they had flipped this whole thing, okay, I have another idea. So, you know, the movie starts out with the murder of the Romulan Senate. That is the opening of the film. What if that was the thing he was trying to do the whole movie? And Picard had to convince him not to do that. Had to try to convince him not to do that. That was the thing. Not go to Earth and kill everyone because why? Because we don't know. But like if his thing was it's because it's like, okay, now you're in charge of Romulus. So like you could literally liberate your people right now.
He kills you're
in charge. You're the fucking
or he manages to kill like one important senator or like half the senators. So now Romulus is just a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And like Picard and his troops or his crew are sent there to, I don't know. Yeah. There needed to be like the whole idea where it's like, stand down, Shinzon. Stand down. Like, that's a good thing. Yeah, they allowed it to become like a bigger story when it probably should have been a more smaller story. Just about Romulus.
Yeah, it just feels like they threw a whole bunch of villain tropes and like literal random Star Trek shit into a Vitamix and then blended it and then poured it out, and here's Nemesis. Like, that's what this movie feels like. It is so disorganized. There's nothing nuanced or subtle about anything. There's no like really strong through storyline. None of the relationships are strong except for in the fucking wedding scene when I actually like literally had a little tear. I had a little tear.
Aww.
Where he was like asking them not to go. When he's
his
like
toast is very cute.
His toast,
in the way Patrick Stewart acts that scene.
It's perfect. That's when he's the most like Picard in the entire movie. Like,
he's like my dad. I'm pretty sure that's the toast my dad gave.
Yeah,
at my wedding.
That makes sense. But yeah, it's just like, and this is not just Star Trek criticism. This is just like film criticism.
Yeah,
now,
movie criticism.
You know, like especially since we very recently watched First Contact, which is a very enjoyable and very successful film, which still has problems.
Yes.
You know, but I care about all the characters in that movie. I care about the new characters in that movie. You know, like I care about Lily. I actually care. I'm very interested in the Borg Queen. At least the Borg Queen is interesting. You know, at least like you're like, whoa, what? What? Wait, how?
Yeah.
You know?
It would have been interesting if they could have made Shinzon a little bit more, I don't want to say sympathetic, but like a little more accessible. He's just set up from the very beginning as bad guy.
Yes.
Like, I know this is the bad guy. That's the bad guy of the film. Boo.
Well, and no connection to Picard. Like no real...
Yeah.
You know, like if we had more of a glimmer of Picard than just him ordering a tea. You know what I mean?
That's like, right. It's like tea hot.
Okay.
He ordered a tea.
That's the
And
thing.
he wants it hot.
The connections that they try to draw between the two of them are so weak. Like, they both like tea. They both looked up at the stars and dreamt about what was up there.
Oh, and don't forget that scene where Picard has him, but he's bald. And I can't remember if they say this in the movie or if this is just something a deleted scene, but he's like, I had to shave my head. I lost a bet.
Oh my
And it's
God.
like, that's everything. Like, why is Shinzon? I guess he's bald because that's what the Remans look like. But it's like,
there's no real.
why is he bald?
We don't know.
Because you have to know it's Picard's clone.
Because they wanted to put a prosthetic on the back of his head so it looked like Patrick Stewart's head. They wanted everyone to see it.
He actually did wear
really
a
did,
prosthetic
yeah.
chin and nose.
And they got the ridge on the back of his head too.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, I missed that.
Yep.
I missed that. Wow.
To make him actually look like Picard, actually look like Patrick Stewart. They did that as well. It's yeah. I mean, I just feel like the potential, because the concept of Picard seeing himself and in that way having to like look like seeing himself as a villain and then having to look back on himself now and like really that potential for introspection for the character of Picard is really cool and really interesting, and I love that concept. But like it's just, it doesn't happen. Like it doesn't happen because the whole point of this movie is action and not storytelling. And that's not, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like that's not why I watch Star Trek. I watch Star Trek for storytelling. I do not watch Star Trek for action.
We don't. The action's pretty laughable a lot of times.
I know.
It's like Riker doing a roundhouse.
Oh my fucking God. Oh my God. And like, I know that we're not talking about like that, but like the fight scene between Jonathan Frakes and Ron Perlman. Who needs that? Who has been asking for that? Also, like, let's just talk about how that whole fight scene was like, husband avenges wife's rapist.
Oh God.
And can we just talk about how, like, I literally just said this movie feels like a Vitamix smoothie of random Star Trek shit and random movie shit, and how they fucking have to throw in another Deanna brain rape scene.
This woman gets, oh my God, she's constantly like losing kids. And then, violated in so many ways. I have thoughts, but
like, why?
I want to.
I just have to say, why is it
because
in there?
Unfortunately, in movies, especially, I would say in this era, there is that trope of like, how do we show that someone's bad? Oh, they rape someone,
right?
Like,
but like, what is it? What is it doing? What is
in the movie?
Yeah, like what is
the only thing it does besides, just be like, oh, isn't Shinzon bad? The only thing it does is set up the fact that there is a telepathic connection that can happen between the Riemann and Troy, so that later when she's looking for them on the radar,
they can blow
and
them
they
up.
have this like foolproof cloak. Well, it's like, oh, remember how that happened to Troy? Well, she can do it to them too. She can find them, and then she says, "Remember me," and that's her like 90s or 2000s. action thing, which is
again
kind of lame.
It's weak. It's so weak. There's no even, like they're not ascertaining information from her. They're just he's just raping her for no reason. And what that does for me, again, for the character, I'm sorry, we should probably say trigger warning. We're going to talk about rape because there's rape in this movie. But like what that does for the character of Shinzon is just separate him even more from Picard in a way that like makes him completely not worth caring about in any way.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Like
Like
he's
that definitely
Picard
dehumanizes him even like more.
Exactly. It just makes him even more just shit and one dimensional, and it makes him not. It makes me not care what happens to him. I really don't fucking care. I'm just like, kill him right now. Just kill him right now. Also, and this is a smaller complaint, but like, why does Deanna need her hand on top of Worf's hand? Why can't she press the button herself?
She has her training.
She's literally a commander. She knows how to use the console.
Maybe
Let
it's
her
like a
do
Ouija
it.
board, you know?
That's what it seemed like. They were.
Like
it was
a
Ouija board.
She needs
vibes.
something in her hand.
That was some bullshit, though. I was like, let her fucking do it herself. Can't she?
That'd be awesome, actually. Yeah.
Right? Like, why is she? Worf, you have to do it for me. What? No.
Here's something. Okay, I have a couple of thoughts. Going back to Troy, it is also kind of a shame that, you know, like we were just saying, Troy has been mentally mind raped, violated before, but usually it's not so literal. Like she's literally in her bedroom with Riker, and they're having at it, and then Riker turns into Shinzon, which turns into the Reman.
The Viceroy.
So it's like they literally take over while they're having sex. So it's not just like you're violating my mind, but it's that literal scene of like, oh, and Riker and her are having sex. So
yeah, you're violating my body. You're violating my relationship with my husband.
It's a little too on the nose. And then on top of it, we talk about this too. Where poor Troy, she's just expected to like go back to work. But, you know, she's like, Captain, I'm a liability. But it's probably should more be like, this is fucked up. She's obviously in distress.
I need to not
And he's
work.
like, nope, you got to keep working. If you can put up with more of these attacks, I need you. And it's like, what?
Yeah, that was really fucked up. I was mad. I was angry.
There was a deleted scene, but there was actually another scene in a turbo lift where she gets violated again. I don't know the specifics of that, but it's just
what
like,
the fucking
why? Because like Shinzon's evil.
God, this movie sucks.
It would have been more interesting if he, let's say he was, you know, the Remans, there is some sort of civil war or problems on Romulus. I know the Remans are like technically on their own planet, but yeah, something where Shinzon is working himself the way up the ladder and is starting to take over, and the Federation's like, hey, we got to go like figure out what's going on there. And like we said, there's a little bit more chess games, but if Troy at some point has a one-on-one with Shinzon, and you know, like you were saying, like seeing those layers of he's like Picard but he's not, or there's those qualities of Picard that definitely have been perverted.
Yeah,
like they could have gotten that across, or used her, or even that telepathic, like they could have set that up in different ways. And instead it was just like, let's do this because then it's bad. Because
it was just Shinzon's a bad guy and he's just going to rape people because that's what bad guys do. If it was more like, I'm trying to communicate, I'm trying to use Troy as a through to Picard, I'm trying to communicate. Like, yeah, that would have made more sense. Like it literally like is for zero reason. Like it's just like, there are so many different ways to write how to find someone in a cloaked ship. Like just watch Star Trek, and there are lots of different ways that people are able to find cloaked ships. You don't have to do it with a telepathic being. You can do it in a lot of different ways, like so many fucking ways. And here, like if they had used Troy as an ambassador between the two, because like again, that would have been beginning of the movie, wedding, Picard's like, you have been my guide and my conscience, in his speech at the wedding, right? If we had then developed a relationship between Shinzon and Troy in which Troy is attempting to be his conscience, would that not have been... So he's
trying to like access... Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Would that not have been interesting and would have also built on relationships that we've already established in the franchise?
No Doom Buggy. We need Doom Buggy.
What the fuck? It's just an ATV. There is nothing fancy about that thing. It is just a fucking ATV.
It's very inefficient. very
How is this
inefficient.
like new technology? It's literally just a 4-wheeler
It's very limiting in many different ways.
with a
but
machine gun on the back.
It's like, what about the ship that you guys came down in? How about you guys just like stay in that and like
What the fuck?
go get the things?
So stupid.
Yeah.
I just so stupid.
Shinzon. We kind of talked a little bit about his look with the shaved head, but what did you think of his outfit?
I thought that the sound of his outfit was very distracting.
Oh, I didn't notice that. What was going on?
It was like, pleather against
Was
pleather.
it like
It made me giggle every fucking time he's moving around, and like you can hear it because the boom mic is picking it up. It's just
Oh my God. I have the TV
Oh,
on low
God.
enough because I watch after the kids go down to bed.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
always
yeah, yeah.
I'm always paranoid about, the action scenes getting louder.
It's
my
just like
God.
that sound, when somebody's wearing like pleather pants and they're too
Yes,
tight and they're
yes.
just like
Or like a snowsuit where it's just like, just like the level of distraction.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was just so silly. I mean, I guess I'm a fan of those like shoulder things. They're neat. Sure.
Part of me does like it because it is probably one of the more like sci-fi looking things in Star Trek. Like, it's kind of when you really start looking at costume design and concept design for these sort of things in movies and television, a lot of times the designers like will look back in history to take inspiration. Like even in First Contact, going back to that, I was reading about it in my Star Trek costume book, and they were saying how for the garb of like Lily and all the people on the planet, they looked back in like the Wild Wild West and like picked out cues of that.
Yeah.
And so, but what there's a lot of that, and it's great in Star Trek in general, but this I kind of just love because it is so like future sci-fi. You can't get any more spacey looking than that. And he's got the cape.
Yeah.
Which starts at like the lower back. I kind of dig that. It's not like attached to the shoulders.
Yeah.
It actually is.
I mean, yeah,
But
it's neat.
and it's kind of like a butterfly. Yeah. Like it's not the most like amazing thing, but I'm just like, cool.
Yeah, cool.
It's got an interesting silhouette,
right? Or like there are aspects of this movie where like somebody did their job pretty well. Luckily, this director who had only directed I think he's only directed 2 other movies, had also worked with Jerry Goldsmith on those other 2 movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So luckily, we also had very excellent score. Like the music is
not
really
that we're
good.
here to talk about the movie, but since Shinzon only makes one appearance, like we can
talk about it a little bit.
But I was very curious about what you thought of the music.
I mean, it's fucking Jerry Goldsmith. He knows what he's fucking doing. There is excellent woodwind writing in this score. And
is that the part where it goes like, dun, dun, dun? Is that?
Oh, no.
Do you know what I'm talking about? That little like
I like that.
accent?
I like that a lot, but that's not what I mean.
Okay.
There was a woodwind ensemble. So woodwind ensemble is usually flutes, clarinets,
And
bassoons, oboes.
Yeah. Okay.
And they're beautiful instruments and they're really underutilized.
Hmm.
And there are several underscore cues where he's just like, woodwinds, let's do it. And I'm just like, yes, Jerry Goldsmith, let us do it. It's beautiful. I mean, he's just really, really good. And all of his music is interesting to listen to, but also very much always serves the scene the way it needs to be served. Like he just knows what he's fucking doing. I do also want to point out that this movie, because it was the last in the TNG series, was referenced a lot for the new show Picard. Especially when it comes to Data's story. So, but the funny thing is that like all they reference is that Data died and that he sang Blue Skies at the wedding. Like, that's it. Because
and it's such a big part of it too.
Yeah. But it's like they never talk about Shinzon in the new series. They just talk about that Data sacrificed his life to save Picard.
And they really make sure to be like B4 doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. They make sure. They make sure of that.
Yeah. They're like, no, he's in this drawer.
So they really just they take from the stuff they take from the wedding scene. Like the musical cues that are important that are used again in Picard, that the ones that made me cry are from the wedding scene. You know, they open the entire series of Picard with an instrumental arrangement of the song Blue Skies by Irving Berlin that Data sings at the wedding. And then they end the season with Isa Briones singing Blue Skies again when Data dies at the end of season 1 of Picard. Spoilers. You know. This is a Star Trek podcast and we're going to talk about Star Trek. And if you haven't seen it, then you should not listen to this.
Oh my God, Larissa has like Kermit the Frog arms, just out of control.
I mean, that's just like the fact that they never even mention Shinzon is just a testament to how unsuccessful this villain was. And it's not. Yeah, and Tom Hardy,
again,
Rick Berman owes you an apology. I mean, Rick Berman just owes you a fucking apology.
Wouldn't that be great if they were like, "Hey, Tom Hardy, can you come back and do something?" Shinzon? He's like, "No, I've moved on."
Absolutely not.
I've moved on.
I love his Bane voice. I love it.
It's so good.
It's really good. He is a fucking excellent actor. He's one of those that like goes all in, and you can always tell he is always 100% committed to every role that he takes on. You know, like there are some actors that are like, you know, Jeff Goldblum, where they're just themselves every time they're in a movie, and there are some actors like Tom Hardy, like Cate Blanchett, who completely disappear.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And I just feel like if he had some better material to work with, like, can you imagine like how like Tom Hardy would have watched all of Next Generation if there had been more than just ordering a hot tea to work with.
What else does he do? And having a bald head.
Oh, yeah.
And looking at the stars.
Looking at the stars, yeah.
That's...
I mean, because that's all Picard is, right? He just has a bald head. He looks at the stars and he orders tea.
Ooh, if only we had a fish tank somewhere. Like maybe his screen on his ship, like it's like a screen shaver where it's a saver where it's just like the aquarium.
Right? Or even if he had just been like interested in literature. You know, like there are so many things that we know about the character of Picard. There are just so many small details that we know. Like if he had been interested in archaeology.
Well, and here's something: he worked in a fucking mine.
Right?
I mean, think about how like much that overlaps in a weird way.
What the fuck?
He's like, here's my rock collection.
If he had become interested in geology, if like fucking anything,
just little breadcrumbs. Yeah. Okay, well, this seems like a good time to bring up Shinzon's death.
Oh, yeah.
Watching this back, I was like, you know, okay. All right, let me start by saying there's, as much as there are problems, there are at least two moments I can just the bare minimum of appreciate the setup, which is, unfortunately, even though we just said they could have done this better, they set up the telepathic link, and then it pays off because that's how they find them. And then they set up the fact that Data has like his little transporter node thing in his wrist. Yeah. And that's how he gets, you know, when he shows up, he puts it on Picard.
I just don't understand why they couldn't have made two of those, and they're very small. So like you can fit more than one of those in your arm. You know what I'm saying?
You have pockets. You have pockets.
Do these uniforms have pockets?
I don't know. Like maybe it had to stay.
It was in his arm. Yeah. But like there was space for another one. There was space for another one.
I know. I don't know why there's only one. I don't know, Larissa. I don't know. But it's true. There could only be one. It's like so Highlander. So yeah. So they set that up. They set that up earlier in the film. So it's like, okay. I just think, and then Shinzon just dies because they're of course having a knife fight. Shinzon pulls a knife on Picard.
Yep.
And Picard just like pulls down this random, like, is it like a pike? Is that what I'm thinking of? It's kind of like a spear, but it's like this thing that's vertical and it's on a hinge. And he just like pulls it down. So now it's 90 degrees and poking out. And Shinzon lunges at Picard and impales himself on it. But it's not even like there's some sort of setup. I was just like, there's not even like a setup for that.
No,
it would be so, I don't know. God, can you imagine if they incorporated the fencing?
Oh my God.
Like, I mean, not that I want them fencing at the end, but
I mean, if they had,
you
mean if they had incorporated any of Picard's character
anything,
at all?
Anything.
And then pulling himself on the thing.
that was just morbid. Yeah.
I just was like, who is this guy? I don't know
You're
who
making
he is.
a mess.
Yeah, you're making a mess. Like, and what the fuck? Like, it just seemed like they gave this character a lot of anger, and then they completely misplaced all of it. They just were like, here's a bunch of anger, and we're just gonna throw it around so that everyone gets some, instead of like giving him a place to put it.
Well, you know, that's
like,
if
it's
you
not Picard's fault
Picard.
that you exist. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not his fucking fault that you're here.
Yeah.
You know, like he was violated in order to create you. If they had even set up that he was like completely brainwashed or something, like if they even set something, nothing is set up. There's just nothing that's set up.
And again, like, the books don't count. We're looking at the end product of what was shown in the theatrical release.
We're looking at the turd that is Nemesis.
And forget about the deleted scenes because they chose to take those out.
Yeah.
So we're left with this.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think about Takot, the first villain's episode, where we said if we recognize that lore was in a way the first repeating one we had in the TV show. And then we had Takot. What was scary about Takot is that he could show glimpses of decency, but he could rationalize evil things.
Oh my God. It's almost like he's a well-developed and interesting character that people actually put thought into.
Like, people want a good villain that they can somewhat understand. It's not that they have to like the villain or like love to hate him, but it was, you know, he needed to be more complex.
That's what I mean. It's more. That's why I think it's more interesting when you like the villain a little.
Yeah, or in some way maybe complex. You don't like him, but like he's sympathetic or just like you know. And I think when they set up like he's a mirror, you know, I'm a mirror for you, and
how?
It's like, yeah, they don't do that. Even Picard at the very beginning is like, "Fuck this, you're not like me," and it's like, "Oh, okay, well, in that case, I guess there's not going to be." You just don't trust him.
Like, you can't just say someone's a mirror for someone else and then they are that. Like, you have to like.
Well, then also he just goes against it and says, "No, you're not. Like, you're not. You know."
Yeah, like me. Writing. It's almost like there's no writing. I don't. Again, I'm gonna go back and say the thing that I said at the beginning, which was I don't. One time during this whole film believe it. I do not once believe it. Zero times do I believe it.
They could have had so much fun.
They really could have. And like it would have, I feel like it would have been more fun for the actors too. You know?
Oh yeah.
I just man.
Also the B4 thing is like amazingly convenient and very like surface level.
Yeah.
We just found this Sung thing.
And we don't even they don't even mention lore once. They don't even mention him.
Again, because only the people who watch Star Trek would know that. B4's in the movie. They can't talk about lore.
Oh, no, you can't explain something? Like, nobody's ever watched a sequel without watching the first movie? Like, fuck you guys. I'm very heated about this. I'm sorry.
No. I'm in my brain, I'm coming up with some crazy alternate universe thing where you think it's B4, but then it turns out that it's actually lore.
Oh my God.
And that like he and Shinzon actually teamed up. But that's like some Star Trek fan fiction stuff. I don't know if that would really work. Not to take a shit on fan fiction. That's not what I'm trying to do.
No, I love it and I would prefer it.
Oh man, Shinzon and Lore. They'd give like a cool high five, and then the screen would freeze.
Yeah, yep. See, would
They're
prefer
they're
that.
about to explode, and they just like high five before the explosion, and then
I would prefer a Shinzon Lore buddy movie.
yes.
That's just like
Where's that
totally
book?
ridiculous than to watch Nemesis again.
Man, so many possibilities.
So there were so many possibilities. I don't like this movie.
Well, Larissa,
Oh no.
do you think we are done talking about this? I think we both know I have to kill you.
Yep. It would have been better if it was a crossover, and actually it was Bane and not Shinzon. Has anyone done that? Has anyone made a meme where it's Bane and instead of Shinzon?
Oh, I
That's
bet so.
that's a villain right there.
Mm.
Okay, I think we're good.
Oh, goodbye.
I gotta.
Find us in the collective at intothewormhole.show, on Instagram at intothewormhole.podcast. Into the Wormhole is brought to you by We Own This Town.
Why aren't you more like a robot because you're an earlier version? Why are you like a baby?
Why does the man have a furry face?
Like what?
accent was that? What?
Oh, that's because that's Brent Spiner and he's a cartoon.